and a trailing man. They both tried to run as far and as fast as they can.
It had been over a year since George's accident with the hijackers. A lot has changed in Fairway since then, and there were times when the engines wondered if he would ever come back. Of course, Mr. Winston would never withdraw him from the roster. It was a while, but the day he returned eventually did come.
Going up a mountain, even halfway to the top. The minute that a train runs out of steam, it's got to stop. But it's a different story when a man runs out of steam. He still can go a long, long way on nothing but a dream. So don't try to stop me, don't try to stop me, 'cause nobody can.
Let's take a look at what happened, shall we?
Good evening, everybody. I have great news to tell you tonight. After his runaway repair work, George will be returning to the yard tomorrow morning.
Wow, it's been so long since we've heard from him. Why did it take so long to repair him again?
Because he was in a really nasty accident, remember? He had some significant damage done to him. That's why he's been gone for so long.
Well, at least he'll be back soon. Now we can enjoy his old presents again. Not.
What was that, Vinny?
Nothing!
I should also point out, he had several new parts to replace him. It's almost like he's a new engine. You'll see what I mean when he arrives.
He did indeed return next morning.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be back.
Bouncing bolts! George, what happened to your voice? You sound like a 12-year-old before that accident.
I thought Mr. Winston had already told you this. I was in really bad shape. My entire cabin nose were damaged, so while I was being repaired, I ended up getting a new voice box.
Oh well, at least you don't sound like an obnoxious child anymore.
That's funny talk, Canadian boy. Because you always be obnoxious no matter how old you get.
Vincent, I hate you.
Love you too. Now, let's welcome George back. It's been so long.
Thanks, but I already know that.
You've changed a lot, and not just by your voice. Heck, if it weren't for the fact that manager assuring us it was you, I'd think I was talking to a completely different locomotive.
I know, I definitely feel different. You guys seem to have changed too. Though of course it has been over a year since I left for the works, so it makes sense.
Yeah, and you're right. Steve's had a new coat of paint as well. And we've had a lot of new people flocking to our railway. Not to mention we have 3 new engines.
You mean the rotten oranges?
Here we go again.
Vincent, well, not Jake, but the other two, they go on and on and on about the Milwaukee Road. It's like they think the world revolves around that railroad. The nerve. The Milwaukee Road has been ruined for me.
And that's why you don't like them?
You read my mind. It's times like this where I actually miss Clarence.
Clarence? Who's Clarence?
Hey, I just remembered something. Is Steve still telling those stories about those other engines he knew once? I remember him telling us one before my accident.
Why, yes. Oh, you have a lot of catching up to do on that.
I see. Guess this means I've got a lot to do today.
That's an understatement.
George made several discoveries during his job. He got a chance to get back in contact with his old friends, as well as make some new ones. As it turned out, Katie was right. The yard had 3 new engines. He met 2 of them first, and they were Jerry, who was an SD9, and the other, Michelle, a GP38-2.
Wow, so you're the new engines.
New? We've been here for months. I take it you're new to the yard?
Certainly not. I've been here for several years, but I've been absent for the last year because I was in a massive accident. What are you two doing here anyways? As far as I'm aware, a Union Pacific FEF-1 named Nick was here to help me, not 2 Milwaukee Road diesels.
Come on, George. Haven't you figured? Railroads are always looking for new engines. Didn't you think that after a year's worth of absence, there'd be a few newcomers?
You have a point. Okay, so I've heard of Jake, but what are your names?
My name is Michelle, and this is Jerry.
Nice to meet you. What's your name?
George. Haven't you guys told them about me?
Yeah?
You're not fooling me with that tone.
I know.
Anyways, I'm a Santa Fe SD45. Wait a minute, there's only 2 of you here. Where's Jake?
Working. You'll have to meet him later.
Fair enough. Oh, damn, I forgot! Steve! I need to find Steve!
Why the rush?
Never mind that. Why haven't any of you told us about him? Don't we deserve to know?
Michelle. Zip it.
It's just that we...
Jerry, you too. Zippy zip.
Why does everyone put up with him?
Who knows? If he was on the Milwaukee Road, they'd kick him out of the roster faster than you could say Twin Cities Hiawatha.
Good one.
Steve, how's it been? I haven't seen you in ages.
Oh, it's been fine. I have to admit, I felt like the odd one out for a while before the 3 Milwaukee Road diesels arrived, considering, you know, I was the only diesel left after you disappeared.
You survived it. Besides, I'm back now. What do you think of that?
Your voice is different, that's for sure.
I'm already aware of that.
You know, your voice kind of reminds me of someone I knew in the past.
Who?
Martin.
Oh yeah, that's right. You told me about him before my accident. Though I don't know what he sounds like, so I don't know how to feel.
Oh, well, considering you haven't been here since I've told the other stories, I can see why. Maybe I should tell you them? Like, maybe now?
You can tell me the rest some other time, but I think it's time I resume work.
Wait! Are you sure you don't want to get some... Oh, forget it.
What's up, Steve?
Oh, it's just that I think George should really take it easy. You know how he has that issue with his crankshaft due to his class's design.
Well, that's just part of his design. It happens sometimes.
Oh, I suppose. I guess I'm just a little protective because I'm glad he's back.
Of course, we're glad he's back. Work has been increasing since his absence, you know. It's always nice to have an extra hand at this.
I guess you're right.
The next day, George was at the yard with a freight train. He was waiting for Michelle to arrive and assist him on the train. But soon, Anthony came in.
Hey, George. I just got some bad news. Michelle's running late. She was held up at Aurora due to traffic. I'm afraid you'll have to sit tight until she arrives.
No need for that to happen. I'm sure I can handle this train on my own.
Are you sure? That does look like a pretty heavy train.
My engine has 3,600 horsepower. Of course I'm sure.
Hopefully this won't turn out to be a disaster.
It would turn out to be a disaster. While it was true that SD49s, like George, have 3,600 horsepower, they also have teething troubles. Their prime mover, when under heavy usage, can break the engine's own crankshaft, a mechanical part of an engine to perform its motion. George had forgotten about this, since he was very eager to work again. It happened when he reached the hill.
Come on, you silly cars. We need to get the load to our destination.
No! We don't want to!
We want Michelle.
Michelle's too far behind to deal with the likes of you. Ouch! That's my crankshaft!
George quickly shut his engine off. They were stranded on top of the hill.
Quick! Call for help!
George's conductor did, but forgot to set the brakes before jumping out of the caboose. For a few seconds, nothing happened. But then, slowly but surely, George felt like he was being dragged back downhill.
Wait a minute. What's going on?
The weight of the cars was literally pulling him down the hill. The conductor noticed this soon enough, but the train was at that point going too fast for him to get back on.
Help! Help!
That sounded like... George? George?
Help! I can't stop!
Oh no, he's a runaway! I better alert the signalman.
Nick alerted the nearest signal box, and soon, all traffic was warned of George and his runaway boxcars. Soon, he found himself approaching the yard.
Send him in the runaway siding.
Frantic, the signalman tried, but he panicked so hard that he didn't realize he switched the wrong lever. Instead of ending up on the runaway siding, he went right through the shed.
That's smart.
How do you think I feel?
George, what the hell happened?
The cars, they started pulling me down the hill just when my crankshaft had snapped too.
Well, lucky for you, you're not as severely damaged as you were last year. Now let's get this mess cleaned up.
Whatever you say, Chuck.
No engine who calls me Chuck is a friend of mine.
They were dragging me. The freight cars, they were dragging me down the hill. I couldn't control them. Why couldn't I? I was able to before the accident.
It's because you haven't gotten the chance to get used to work again. George, you should have waited for Michelle to help you. If it wasn't for that, you might not have broken...
But sir, it was my crankshaft that caused me to break down, not my attitude.
Oh, I see now.
I know. It's a fault of my class, I know.
I never wanted to admit this, but some of my friends were giving me weird looks when I told them I was buying an SD-45. It's really lucky you haven't had any crankshaft issues on the railway until now. That's unheard of.
Hello? What about my tender? I hope the damage isn't too bad.
It's not, Vincent. We'll get George and your tender repaired as soon as possible. In the meantime, you can use that Western Pacific tender that's stored in the shed.
Oh, that tender. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I'm sorry about this, sir.
Don't be. I know what I said a minute ago, but I do appreciate that you were willing to work this hard again. And don't think that I'll be replacing you just because of your mechanical issues either. I'll see if the repair shops can rectify your crankshaft issue. It's a miracle this hasn't happened before, so let's make sure it doesn't happen again.
Absolutely agreed, sir.
Right then. Without further ado, Jake will be taking you to the works later today. I'm sure you'll be glad to meet him.
Indeed I will.
So, you're George, I suppose.
Yep. And you, I'm assuming, are Jake?
I am, so... I understand that you've been away for a year?
Yeah, was away for a year due to a major accident. Now I went and got another one shortly after I returned. All thanks to my crankshaft. SD-45s like me have had constant issues with them. I just can't get a break, it seems. Sorry, did I kill our conversation?
No. It's just what you said got me thinking.
I see. Care to tell me what?
Actually, no. I'd rather not.
Why?
It's just, I don't like getting into my history. You see, I think I'm going through a vicious cycle as well that I can't get a break from.
Really?
Yeah, I've never stayed on a railway for more than 3 years. You wouldn't believe how many times I've been sold.
I see. Well, hopefully your stay here will be the longest.
I hope so too.
It took a few weeks to repair George, but for him, it flew by fast. When he came home, he hunkered down at the sheds to catch up with the other engines.
Hey! Glad you're back again, man.
Me too. Though I'm getting a sense of deja vu. Then again, I didn't need as many repairs this time. They fixed my crankshaft too.
Good. Now it's my turn for an overhaul.
What do you need an overhaul for?
I'm getting old.
Ah.
Alright guys, our last train for today will be the Midnight Freight. Who wants to take it this time?
I'll go. I can manage tonight.
Are you sure you don't want to do it?
I figured I'd get some rest and let the others take their turn. Want to chat now? You mentioned that I've only heard one story with your old friends. Why don't you tell me the rest of them?
Huh, good idea. In fact, I don't think I ever told you about how Martin and I made amends.
I'm definitely curious to hear. Sounds like quite the story.
Well, there's no time like the present.
and the two friends chatted long into the night.